burn. And when the glucose burns, it gives you energy. If glucose does not burn, you will never get energy. Now we are saying that the place where glucose is burned, when you are exercising, it will be increased in number and what? Size. Which is very advantageous for us. What it means is that you can burn more glucose. And when you burn more glucose, no glucose will be left to be deposited as fat. If you eat ugali and then your activity level is very minimal, because your activity level is minimal, only few glucose is burned. Then what happens to the remaining that are not burned? They turn into fat and deposited in the body, and then you see yourself growing fat, which is not good. And then increase in the amount of oxygen storage. That is very good for you. Oxygen storage. Glycogen, sorry. Glycogen, let me talk a little bit about glycogen. When the insulin takes the glucose from the blood and put it in the cell, all the glucose cannot be contained in the cell. The rest are now taken into the liver to be stored in the liver as glycogen. If you need glucose, the liver will just release it. If you have not eaten and you are very hungry and you need more oxygen for you to have energy, the liver will release the stored glucose. The stored glucose in the liver is what we call glycogen. Do you understand what glycogen is? What is glycogen? You understand glycogen? Glycogen is a stored glucose in the liver, which is produced when it is needed. Stored glucose in the liver. So the liver can store a lot amount of glucose and can easily be released into the blood, and insulin will put it into the mitochondria, the cell, for energy to be produced. So we are saying that increase in amount of glycogen. What it means is that we don't want glucose to be stored as fat, but as glycogen in the body. And then number 3, exercise or increase in the left ventricle cavities, decrease in resting heart rate. Now, let me just explain this. Number 1, the left ventricle cavities. You see, this is your heart. There are 4 cavities, 4 chambers. We have this one, then we have this one, we have this one, and then we have this one. This is what we call the right atrium. The right atrium is where the deoxygenated blood from the body comes in and pour into that chamber, into this chamber. From here, it comes down to the right ventricle. Are we together?
Yes.
From the right ventricle, the blood goes into the lungs. For what? For oxygenation. For oxygenation. From the lungs, it comes back to this chamber. This is the left atrium, a left ventricle. Left ventricle. No, left. What is this one? Right atrium, left atrium.
We know the auricle.
Or the auricle. These and these are auricle. When the blood comes to the left auricle, it comes down to the left ventricle. And from here, this chamber is so important, very important. From here, the blood is pumped for systemic circulation into your body, oxygenated blood. Now, you will realize that the walls of your heart, this one is very thick, isn't it? Why? This is the one that pumps blood for systemic circulation. See, when that chamber is very weak, when your left ventricle is very weak, we have 4 chambers. The left, you said, right auricle, isn't it? Right ventricle. Left auricle and left ventricle. Now look at this. Prior to this chamber to squeeze, to pump blood for systemic circulation, if the walls are very weak, you may have full blood here prior to this chamber to push the blood out, but because the wall, the beating of the wall is very, very weak, it cannot push all the blood here. Only maybe this amount of blood will be pushed. This one is still in the chamber. Why? Because the beat is not so strong. What can make the walls very strong is exercise, such that just one beat can push all the blood. If your heart wall is very weak and it is not pushing all the blood, with time you can develop what we call heart enlargement. Now, this is how heart enlargement happens. You see, because your heart walls or your muscles, your heart muscles are very weak, and it is not pushing all the blood for systemic circulation, or it is very weak. When it pushes, the pressure is so weak it cannot carry the blood for all the cells in the body, especially in your lower extremities. So if there is a cell down there which is not receiving blood, and if it doesn't receive blood, it will also not receive what? Oxygen or food nutrients. And all part of your body is represented in your brain. So there is a cell there which is not receiving oxygen. So that cell will cry out through the sensory neurons into the brain that, hey, I am not receiving oxygen. Then the heart center that is represented in the brain will signal the heart that beat faster, because there is a cell that is crying down there. But the problem is not how fast. But because the heart keeps receiving message from the brain to beat faster, it will be beating faster. And still, the cell is not receiving oxygen. So the signal will keep on coming, and the brain will keep on sending signal to the brain, to the heart. And the more the signal comes, the more the heart beats. And when the heart beats like that, it is enlarging. That is how we get heart enlargement. So exercise can prevent all those. Exercise can thicken the wall here, can make it so strong, one beat, all the blood is pushed. And this, when it is so strong, we call it myocardial contractility. One beat, all the blood is gone with pressure. And all the cells in the body will be receiving oxygen. There is a decrease in BP if your BP is high, an increase in stroke volume. Stroke volume is one push that goes to all the body, the blood goes to all the body. These ones, and there are other changes in the body. decrease in total body fat, decrease in total blood cholesterol. You have heard about the LDL and HDL, isn't it? When you are exercising, your LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, is decreased. The bad cholesterol is decreased. And your HDL